Hello everyone, my name is Vladimir Onokoy, and today I want to talk about my new book, From Balkans to Babylon, Zastava AKs of Yugoslavia, Serbia, and Iraq. As far as I know, this is the first English language book that actually dives deep into the history of both Yugoslavian AKs and Iraqi Tabuk rifles. I did some writing for the books in the past. For example, Victor's Guide, Kalashnikov Volume 2, I wrote a few chapters. But again, you write a few chapters and it feels like you just wrote a bunch of articles and it's not such a big deal. So this is my first book, and needless to say, I'm quite excited, but at the same time nervous because it took me a few years to actually put it together. My fascination with Yugoslavian military equipment started 20 years ago. It was pretty hard to buy any guns at the time. I was 16, but I had M89, M93 uniforms. I was reading about military equipment gear, but there wasn't really much I could read about the small arms of Yugoslavia. So even those little bits of information that I read, they came very handy many years later when I started working as an armorer in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. For many years, I was inspecting and repairing weapons in those countries for different security companies. And as my friends once said, the steel never lies. So you can deduct a lot of interesting information from just researching the actual guns and seeing what was going on. For example, it was fascinating to see how the quality of Tabuk rifles was changing over time. From the very beginning, when the Yugoslavian engineers actually built the factory in Iraq, in Babylon. Actually, that's why the book is called From Balkans to Babylon. And then over time, through Iran-Iraq War, and later on, after the Desert Storm, all the way to 2003, the quality of those Tabuk rifles was basically declining. So during my armor career, I took a lot of photos, I talked to Iraqis, I talked to a lot of interesting people in Afghanistan who had a lot of things to share about Zastava and Tabuk rifles. So I had my personal experience, and I published a couple of articles in the Recoil magazine. The first one is about Tabuk. The second one is about the son of Tabuk, which is a shorter version of the same rifle. And I thought about writing a book, but then, I wasn't really around when Zastava rifles were developed, and I needed to find some actual historical information about the Yugoslavian rifles. And apparently there are a lot of interesting information about Zastavas, but in Serbian gun books. So all I had to do was to learn the Serbian language and find all those books, because unfortunately they're not really available in the stores. You have to go on a local version of an eBay and buy them from private collections. And I went on a multi-year hunt to actually find all those books to make sure that I actually get the history of Zastava AKs right, and the Zastava factory in general. So you might be familiar with it if you like Zastavas. It's a classic book by Branko Bogdanović. Dva veka pušaka na teritoriji Yugoslavia. Wonderful illustrations, a lot of great information, and the book is actually from 1991. So excellent part of my collection, and it's actually probably the most popular one to date. The next one, Kolevka Srpske industrije, is also by Branko Bogdanović. It translates as The Cradle of the Serbian Industry. It's probably the best overall book about the history of Zastava. Then I was lucky to visit Zastava factory a couple of times. We went to the range. I was able to see their showroom with their incredible weapon collection, take pictures for my book. And they gave me one more book, Kragujevačka fabrika oružja, by Žomir Spasić. This is probably the best actual historical research of the Zastava in the late 19th century, early 20th century. Fascinating book if you want to know more about Zastava. Then, if you've ever been to Zastava Factory Museum, you've probably seen this little thing, and despite the fact that it's very small, this guide through museum by Marija Milošević is excellent. Has a lot of really good information, and it was really helpful when I was working on my book. And then, when I thought that I found everything and there's nothing else in this world that can help me in writing the book, I was very lucky to meet Dragoljub Grujevic, who's a former CEO of Zastava, he worked there from the late 60s. So incredible knowledge, incredible information, and he recently wrote a memoir called Kako se kaljao oružarski čelik, How the Gun Steel Was Hardened. And it's probably one of the best memoirs I ever read. So he talks about his personal history, about history of Zastava through his own eyes. And I got to say, this book actually changed my understanding of the history of Zastava M70. But even with all that information, I really felt like I still don't know enough about Zastava. So I reached out to my friends and colleagues, and they answered the call. So throughout the book, you would see contributor pages when people are sharing some of their personal stories connected to Zastava, some of their experiences. For example, I reached out to Dan Shea, editor-in-chief of Small Arms Review and Small Arms Defense. Many years ago, he actually helped me to start my writing career. And his 2003 article that he actually did at Zastava is probably still the best reference guide about the rare military variants of Zastava. James Reeves from TFB TV shared his story about, his visit to Zastava and his experience with those firearms. My good friend Miles Whining, who's probably one of the most well-known researchers of Middle Eastern firearms, he wrote a story how he found a green-to-book rifle at one of the Iraqi gun markets, and I've never seen a green-to-book in my entire life. I reached out to Jeff Gervich, the author of Modern Tactical Shooting Channel, and he actually shared his experience of using Zastava in competition, something I never really did because I mostly shot pistol competitions. My good friend Lyndon Schooler, who actually helped me to visit the Zastava factory. We were there together, helping each other take pictures. He shared some of his gunsmithing experience on the pages of the book. My friend Ziad, who was essentially in charge of procuring weapons from Zastava for almost a decade for his agency in Egypt. He shared his point of view as a client, the end user of Zastava weapons. So I included his story in different parts of the book just to give another perspective to the readers. My good friend Milica, who was born and raised in Kragujevac, shared her story of the bombing of the city in 1999, as well as her personal experience in the Serbian military using M21 rifle. Rob Stott, without his photos, probably this book wouldn't exist. So excellent photography. In at least half of the chapters I have his photos, and I'm really grateful for his help. There are many other people who help with this book. I'm going to try to mention them in the book, but I'm really sorry if I forget someone. Thank you very much. So currently the book is available for pre-order at the Safar Publishing website. It's a pre-order item, so if you order it now, it's going to arrive into the warehouse somewhere in early fall, maybe at the end of the summer. So there is a discount for the early birds, and I hope you're going to like it. So if you have any questions, welcome to the comment section, and thank you very much for watching.